right, we are back with another amazing guest on the Scale with Pros podcast. And so I have Michael, the business broker king, owner of Headstone, right? Headstone. I want to make sure I got it right.
Blackstone, Headstone.
Yeah. Owner of Headstone. And man, you guys are in for a treat today because we are going to be talking about the kind of the pros cons buying versus growing your business from scratch, maybe how you can be growing your business through some acquisitions, and Michael, would love to have you kind of share your story of how you got into this world of entrepreneurship. Fast forward to what you're doing today, and then we'll dive into the business acquisition world.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. So, my name is Michael Steinberg. On Instagram, YouTube, I put my name as Business Broker King. Been selling businesses for the last 12, 13 years. And, it's not work to me. It's this industry that you meet so many different people, and it's so much fun, and you learn about so many different businesses, and you learn from every single deal, which is what I love.
Yeah.
So going back to how I started, I was a pizza delivery boy, single mother, had to help her out, had to leave college, but started in high school working actually as a pizza boy. And it's really important to get your kids working at an early age because I learned so much from being behind the counter and dealing with people and, just schmoozing with the customers. And that skill set allowed me to create small talk. And one day while I was behind a counter of a pizzeria, this guy comes in and he has a black card. He throws down his black card. I'd never seen a black card. I never picked up a black card before. I picked it up and it was, it was heavy. I was like, what is this? He's like, it's a black card. I'm like, what do you do? He's like, I'm a business broker. So, yeah. So that was cool. So I'm like, what's a business broker? I had no idea what a business broker was. Is it a commercial real estate agent? What you sell commercial? He's like, no, I sell pizzerias. I sell car washes. I sell laundromats. I sell, all these different types of businesses. And then I'm like, can I learn more? I'm young. I'm hungry. I'll do whatever I could to make it happen. So then I started delivering to his office, and he took a liking to me. And I started working, and then while I was delivering pizza, I made my first check, and I made $20,000, and that was my yearly salary about 13 years ago. And then my boss, who at 21, I was still with him for 4 years. I'm like, Joe, I gotta go. I have my path. He's like, Mike, I believe in you. I'm so happy for you. Go after it. And we're still great friends to this day. So.
Wow.
I went after it. Yeah, I went after it. And, from there, I started selling more pizzerias, got into the car wash game. I bought a pizzeria with a buyer. We flipped it in Manhattan on 5th Avenue. That was a cool story. And, I had a Manhattan office when I had the pizzeria. And then I got into all different types of businesses. I started Empire Business Management in 2015. I had about 10 guys. In 2020, from 2015 to 2020, I must have done a few hundred acquisitions, a lot of experience, and then I started Headstone. Boom, COVID happened. I innovated. I created an online module, a course, trainings, lead generation tools, and I built Headstone. And today, we have about 275 people at Headstone. Doing deals every single day. We have probably 3 to 4 closings every day at this point. I think this year we'll close over 300 businesses, exponentially growing every week because it does take a little time to close on a deal. So people are starting to close. So we'll do 300 deals this year. Next year I think we'll triple that easy or quadruple that. And we're nationwide, and I love it. It's great. So that's a little bit about.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's such a cool story, and it's always fun, and I'm sure you'd probably agree with this. It's like when you get that first like big check from, whatever business venture you're going into, like that $20,000 probably felt like it was $1,000,000
Yeah, I
when you
called my
got
dad.
it, right?
I called my dad. My dad was working at a car dealership. Now he works for me. I was like, Dad, I made 20 grand, and he's like, That's unbelievable, Michael. That's half what I make a year. It was amazing.
Yeah. So cool. It's such a, got to be such a great feeling. And, so I love the story. So let's talk about the business acquisition space for a little bit. So a lot of people listening in, they're growing their business, and, a lot of people probably hadn't bought their business before. I'm doing acquisitions of other companies in the home service space, and, focused on organic growth and acquiring businesses to continue to grow. What's the case like that you would state of, okay, if someone was looking at maybe starting, a new business or buying that business, and then building from there, what's your perspective, and like what's the advice or feedback that you would share for someone, considering one of those options?
Okay, so if you're going to be buying a business, it's there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of moving parts in business: people, product, process. Those are the three P's. I learned it from Marcus Lemonis. You have to empower the people. When you're buying the business, you're inheriting their staff, their goodwill, their numbers. So it's important to keep what's working, not change anything right away when you buy it, and then
Mm,
eventually slowly tweak. Slowly tweak. See what works and slowly tweak. It's very important.
mm-hmm.
When you're buying the business, there's a due diligence period, and you have to make sure that the numbers line up, the story lines up, and everything that was said is actually true. And
Yep.
that's something that I help with as well. What other good piece of advice I can give?
Like buying it
So
versus starting too. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. Like, do you typically tell people like, hey, like, don't start a business. You should just buy one instead. Or I'd love to hear on that.
yeah, I think buying a business over starting a business all day. Starting
Mm-hmm.
a business is not, it depends what business, but it's still pricey. If you're going to build
Mm-hmm.
out a restaurant, you got to buy all the equipment. You got to, there's just so many costs associated. If you're going to build a restaurant, if you're going to buy a restaurant, you can have the seller, push for seller financing. Buying a business, you're going to inherit the staff. You're going to buy the goodwill already, and then you can build up from there. Rather than when you start a
Mm-hmm.
business, you start from scratch. So I always go with
Yeah,
buying a business.
I agree. I'm on the same page on that. I don't ever want to start a new business again now that I've, learned more of the acquisition space, like having customers, having team members, and then working on the business from there is so much, I don't know, so much better in my opinion. And so I guess where do you see people making mistakes? So someone could be listening and they're like, yeah, maybe I would look at buying a business either to add underneath the business they already have, maybe have, an HVAC or a whatever service business, and they want to buy another one to grow. Whether they want to do that or they're going to buy just the first business. What are the mistakes that you see people making in that process, like time and time again?
Mistakes that people are making. As far as the buyers, they're throwing
Yeah,
out
the
LOI.
buyer.
Yeah, they're throwing
Mm-hmm.
out LOIs, and they don't even know how they're going to finance the deal, and they think everything
Mm-hmm.
is SBAable. And I would say
Mm-hmm.
90% of deals aren't SBAable. Just to everyone out there, just
Mm.
want to put that out there.
And so
Very
just
important.
so everyone listening, LOI, letter of intent of like, terms of the deal potentially as a soft offer kind of deal, and then SBA, like the SBA financing program that, you can buy the business with. So just for context for someone that's like, what the heck
Sorry.
is this guy talking about?
Yeah, I jump. Sometimes I jump too much. Yeah, a letter of intent is basically an offer of what you're going to offer the business, and there's these social media gurus that go around and saying, you can get $0 down SBA deals. It's not true. I'm telling you, I've done over 1,000 in my career. I've done probably around 1,000 transactions in the small business world. Um,
Mm-hmm.
90% of them are non-SBA deals. So it's very difficult to get the financing. So,
Yeah.
that's one mistake that people make. They put the cart before the horse, and then they can't do the
Mm-hmm.
deal because the financing isn't lined up.
So why is that? Like what's going on that causes those deals not to be able to, be SBA financeable? What's the main reasons that you see that?
America right now is for sale. All these baby boomers own these businesses. They're over expensing themselves, so they don't pay taxes, as much taxes as they should. Sometimes they have cash in the business and they don't report 100%. So when an SBA does a deal, they underwrite what the financials are. And if those financials
Mm-hmm.
don't depict what the owner makes, there's no way that the bank can service that loan. So what I do, the
Mm-hmm.
reason why we get deals done is we push seller financing. So the seller is the bank.
Yeah.
So we have a car wash for sale, right? The price is $3 million. There's no way this business can be bank financeable. So we're going to go to the seller and we're going to tell them, Mr. Seller, I'm going to give you $600,000 down, and the remaining 2.4 million, you can be in first position. So if we ever fail, you could take the car wash back, and you're going to be the bank. And that's how I do deals.
I'm a big fan of being able to do seller finance. Like my background being a lot in real estate, bought a lot of real estate seller finance or subject to, and how do you work through that with the seller? If you're let's say your firm's like representing the buyer and they're going to a seller that they don't know what they don't know. How do you walk the seller through that of like, hey, this is a better to do a seller finance deal here. We're gonna make sure you get cash up front. Like, how do you get them actually on board with those types of deals? Like, obviously 20% down, that's a fair amount of money to put down on a deal where it's like there's skin in the game. So it's not the social media influencers, zero money down, the seller pays you to buy the business and all this freaking crap on Instagram and all that. But
Yeah.
what how do you work through that to get the seller wrapping their head around that for their baby they've ran for the last 37 years and now they're thinking about retirement?
It's a great question. I mean, why would a seller do that, right? Well, I'll tell
Yeah.
you what. Most of these sellers have capital gains. So if you're going to seller finance, the seller can defer his capital gains over the course of the note. So if he gets $3 million up front, he's going to have to pay half of it to the government. If you structure a note, you could slowly pay over the course of that 15, 20, 30-year note. I've done 30-year deals, right? So that's one way.
Wow.
It's not about how much you gross, it's how much you put in your pocket. And there's other
Yeah.
ways to do things. Number
Mm.
two, Mr. Seller, I'm going to give you your price. You're going to give me my terms. He's going to get the highest
Mm-hmm.
multiple possible, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
cash on cash return is very strong for the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win-win situation. Um, what else? Interest. The seller is going to make interest on the deal. If you have a 30-year note,
Yeah.
how much interest that is? You're not selling your business for 3 million. You're selling your business for 5 million, right? So,
Yeah.
and then you're in first position. If anything happens, step in. You have to have a very strong promissory note, which I
Mm-hmm.
have so many different templates of that. You step in and you take the business back, and then we can resell it. Hopefully that never happens, but
Right.
sometimes that will happen. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's really their benefit is, one, it's like they probably can't even get SBA approval on the deal. Two, they're gonna net more money in their pocket from not paying all the capital gains on the deal. And then three, like they're making interest over that time. Which I think the other, benefit to that too is I would imagine a lot of these, especially the baby boomers, if they got that chunk of money, the first thing they're going to have to do is now be like, where am I going to go put this to now go generate a return monthly? Because now I have this chunk of cash that now needs to go be put into something else to, generate monthly cash flow. Whereas like the seller note creates that monthly cash flow
It's
instead.
an annuity. Yeah.
Yeah,
And the
an
way to get
annuity.
these sellers comfortable, just from my experience, is it's all about relationships. You gotta really sell yourself as the buyer to the seller.
Hmm.
Listen, I'm gonna take your baby and I'm gonna bring it from 20 million to $100 million. We're gonna bring in this amount of capital, from my investors, or we're gonna, my background is marketing. We're gonna market your business and we're gonna get it up and running. And you gotta sell yourself to the sellers. And if someone likes you and they have money, that goes a long way.
Yeah. Mm, that makes sense. So let's go to, because there's a decent amount of people that listen that, maybe they have a seven-figure business, like maybe they're doing a million or a couple million bucks a year, and they're trying to wrap their head around, like, okay, let's say they have a plumbing business and they're doing 2 million bucks a year, and they're like, okay, I can go buy another plumbing business to grow. Like, how do you walk someone through how they could do that and make it make sense with their current operation? Like, they're doing 2 million, maybe they go want to buy another one doing a million, so they, add that inorganic growth, and they're, you know, are there certain financing mechanisms that they could use from, collateral from their main business to get, some debt, some seller finance? Like, how do you typically, advise people through that type of situation where it's an add-on to their already existing business?
It's a great question. And a lot of the buyers that are, let's just say the plumbing world, right? They want to buy companies that complement plumbing, not just
Mm-hmm.
plumbing all the time. So another business that complements plumbing, fire suppression businesses.
Mm.
Those complement plumbing perfectly. So that's called the vertical horizontal method, where you
Mm-hmm.
buy a business that's in a vertical, you buy something that complements it that's horizontal, and then in both businesses they're the same customers, so you're going to exponentially grow. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I advise my clients to do. If you're in the HVAC business, why don't you look at roofing companies? It's a vertical
Mm-hmm.
horizontal method. Of course, you could buy other roofing companies or plumbing companies, but there are, going against what I said before, if the business does qualify for SBA, and if you're in the same NAIC code, you can get up to 100% funding from the SBA. So
Oh.
yeah, so if you're in the same code, the same business, you can get 100% funding. I did it with the med spa. We just closed on a med spa, 100% funding.
Mm.
There are creative ways to do everything. But again, SBA 7.5% plus 1 to 2%, so you're looking at 9.5%. 10 years amortization, just business only. So the loans are heavy. Seller financing deals, 5-6%. Um, and you get super creative. So
Yeah. No, I love that. That's super, super interesting. For acquisitions, being able to get that 100% financing. I mean, if you're already in the space, being able to go and do that. So that's yeah, I like that. So when with what you do you typically like work like with your firm? Like, do you guys typically like working with more buyers and helping them source businesses to acquire, or more of the focus is getting businesses to list and helping sell them?
so we work on, we don't co-broke as a company. So we don't work with any other brokers.
Mm-hmm.
We work buyer seller, but we get listings. We represent the seller.
Mm-hmm.
But in essence, we're actually representing both because we're always in the middle between both. For an example, right now as we're talking, I have a closing. I'm closing on a supermarket. The seller is a great client of mine. The buyer is a great client of mine. How do I stay in the middle? This is a business where everyone has to be 85% happy to make a deal. You can't. No one's going to be 100% happy to make a deal. Everyone has to be 85% happy.
Yeah.
So it's just a fun business, and that's why we get paid 10% commissions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, makes sense. So when people are considering selling, because there's most businesses end up not selling for one reason or another, as far as like data I see online. What are the things that people could be doing to better prepare themselves to exit their business? Like, what are the common things that you see? It's like, okay, these five things need to be done to get your business up to up to snuff to exit and get the best terms possible?
Great question. So, financials obviously have to be as clean as possible. That's important. You want to
Mm-hmm.
not really run your personal airbags through the business. You want to keep them separate. If you're looking to exit in the next couple of years, try to separate business only and then have personal airbags personally. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
business owners, they run everything through their business, but if you're looking to
Mm-hmm.
sell, it's a much cleaner process.
Okay.
Um, Take a vacation and make sure the business runs without you there. Just if you were there, you know, if the business can run absentee, the point is if the business can run absentee, it's strong. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth more than an owner operating business. That's very important. What else to get your business up and running? You know, make sure that your backstory is, you know, if you're losing money, have your reasons why you're losing money. Have projections that if you're losing money, if I put X amount of dollars in, what the business can get to. Just be over prepared. It's always good to be over prepared because a lot of businesses aren't making money, but people don't understand. You still can sell them. You just have to have the story correct.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Super
Just because,
interesting.
yeah, just because a business is losing money doesn't mean it can't be sold. Someone can take someone's trash and make a treasure.
Yeah. I like that. So those are three of the key things is so one is making sure your financials are clear. So for those of you listening, having an actual professional bookkeeper, having a CPA that knows what the heck they're doing, that they could be advising you on this stuff, working, to prep your business. I'm sure, Michael, they could work with your firm at Headstone to make sure they're getting those things in alignment and the financials look the way that they need to, truthfully, but they need to be clean, right? And then that second piece of the vacation, those that are listening, shameless plug at Scale with Pros, like that's what we help businesses do is become more self-managing. And so that's our jam over here. But so that you can leave the business and it doesn't fall apart. There's actually, Michael, it's interesting. There's a plumbing deal that I'm working on that was an off-market referral to me, and here in Arizona, 30. They've been in business for almost 40 years, and they've been steady. 2 to 3 million a year for 20 of those. Almost 40 years, the last 20 of it, and they, those things were not there. It's like their financials, it took like 3 months to like actually get to the bottom of what the heck's actually going on, and running all sorts of personal expenses through the business and all sorts of personal ad backs, and it just makes it that much harder to actually try to get a deal together and decide what things actually are personal or not. And so that's been a challenge in that deal. So like to you guys listening, like that's what you're signing up for if you don't have that stuff ready, is months of cleanup with and spending a bunch of money getting it cleaned up too. And then the third was the story. So it's like having the story of the growth, the declines, the ebbs, the flows of the business, to be able to present that in a way that actually makes sense.
And then one more is just staying in touch with a trusted business advisor, where
Mm-hmm.
someone like myself, where you're always in touch with me. I always can give you a current evaluation on the spot, and always let you know
Mm-hmm.
how the market's doing. It's important to just stay in touch with us. That's what we do with our clients.
Yeah. So with that, like, what does that look like working with you guys? It's like because there's a lot of people listening and they've never considered what it looks like to sell their business, like how that process works. If someone was considering, in the future to sell their business, like if you had to wave your magic wand, like when is the right time that you would hope they would reach out to you to work through prepping them all the way through, okay, we're going to actually list the business. Like what's that ideal? So, the knuckleheads that are coming today thinking to sell today, that, they're thinking ahead.
Right now is the time. I mean, look how much dry powder is out there from private equity companies. They're throwing money away. And why? Because now's the time. So if you're looking to sell, even if you're not ready right now, it's important to reach out and just, start that conversation. It doesn't have to be now, it can be in a year. But like you said before, we have to clean up the financials. We help with that too. I have a whole financial team.
Hmm.
No matter what industry it is, we can help you clean up your financials and get them ready and just give you an evaluation now and how we can get that evaluation to another level in a year from now as well.
So it's just, it's as soon as possible to keeping the business prepped. Like one of the things that I talk to like our consulting clients about and our partners at the different companies that I'm involved in is always building the business to sell even if we're not wanting to sell right now, but always thinking with that lens so that if that possibility is there of okay, we want to sell, we already are running the business in a way that was set up to sell because it becomes a mess if you're not doing that.
You have to always have an exit plan. As soon as you buy a business, always have an exit plan. You're in a business, always have an exit plan. I have an exit plan. I always have an exit plan. So you never know. You always have your options open.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, um, from there, obviously you've built, incredible business. Done tons of deals, have a large team. For those that are trying to scale up their team and their business, and go to the next level. What are some of the things that you wish you had been told years ago when you were first starting to build out your team and trying to scale up the business overall that would have helped you go faster?
Social media. That's
Mm,
the best free advertising out there by far.
mm-hmm.
You're not going to hit a home run right away. But if you slowly just put the work in every day, just do a video. Don't care what anyone thinks. Just get your story out there, get your message out there. Do it every day, and eventually you'll grow an audience. If I was told that when I first started, I mean, I would have, the needle would have been so much. I would have went so much further quicker. But I've been doing that for the last 3 years, and I grew my whole company on social media.
Wow. And it's free. It's that work ethic of just putting in the consistency of the posting. That's part of doing this podcast for me is a long-term play of I've been a part of a couple different podcasts where we ran a couple years, and I'm like, this is my 10-year run podcast of I'm going to have thousands of episodes. This will be probably somewhere in the low 70s ish number of episodes that'll be coming out. And with this, it's we're again like around that 70s mark, and it's like I get clients, I get introduced to people through this podcast, which creates new opportunities, new business deals to become a part of. And it's like we get to have these conversations that could turn into future opportunities to work together. And I think if and so what I'm saying, not saying though to everyone is like you need to start a podcast. It's like just doing content, like consistent posts on your Instagram, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, wherever your ideal avatars are hanging out. That you could be constantly getting your message out and being able to stay in front of people. I think a lot of people struggle with doing that because they're like, oh, I'm gonna be worried about what people might think of me, or oh, I don't want to bother people with just all my work stuff online.
Excuses, excuses, excuses. You have one life to live. Who cares what people think? Go after it. Facebook is where all the baby boomers are. I'm posting on Facebook every single day. LinkedIn, all the professionals. Instagram, that's what people want to be. They want to be. Everyone's on Instagram. TikTok is huge too. YouTube is tremendous.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, if you're a roofing company, if you're a plumbing company, do a crazy video. Do something that will catch attention. Just do it. I guarantee you, people will. If it's funny, people will like it. You're gonna have haters along the way. That's normal. But just do it. It's free advertising.
Absolutely. I love that. So, any advice on like some things that you've done that's helped you build? Obviously you have a large team. To be able to build that team. Anything that you learned along the way that you want to share to help people, maybe with some of the pain and suffering that you've experienced to help them not have to feel that.
It's definitely hard. It's a great question. It's definitely hard out there. But the biggest thing in business is people, empowering
Hmm.
people, giving. There's deals where I give everything. I give back to the sellers. I give back to the buyers. I give my commissions away. And then you know what happens? Oh, I know this guy that wants to sell. Oh, I know that guy that wants to sell. Everything will come back to you tenfold. So don't be afraid to reach into your pocket and give. I promise you, if you do that, it's gonna come back to you.
I like that. It's a. Have you ever read the book The Go-Giver?
No, but I should.
Oh my gosh, you'd probably love that book. But different concepts, like all these like really cool business stories of giving, without expectation too. I think that's like the essence of it as well. Is it's not like, tit for tat, like I did this for you, so you should do something for me. It's just like give, and it's just that's it. It's
It's gonna
give,
come
and
back to you.
things will come back, and it's like one area, it's like you give in an area, nothing happens, and then all of a sudden something great in another area comes up, and you're blessed in another way. And I'm a big fan of that, from giving to your team, giving to the people that you're working with. And with that, I think it's like having that like abundance mentality and abundance mindset of there's always enough. And maybe it's not going to be something on this deal. And that's even with talking to sellers. It's if it's not the right timing, like just giving value. I've been talking to a couple different home service owners directly here in Arizona that I would love to buy their business, or invest in like a majority stake in their business and work with them. But it's like it's not just an overnight thing. And I'm just trying to give value. And it I don't know if it'll come back on those particular deals, but they've opened doors and introduced me to other people that are open now to those conversations just from giving that value, which I think too many people just don't have that abundance mentality around it.
I love it. Exactly. You gotta exhaust all engines.
Yeah, 100%. So, as we're coming up, on the end here, Michael, um, how would you say is the best way for people to get in touch with you if maybe they're looking to sell, or maybe they're looking to buy a business? Where would you want them to go? I know you got your YouTube, your Instagram, and all that. We'll make sure is in the show notes.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really where I focus is the social media. So Business Broker King on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, or you can go on my website too, hedgestone.com, and you'll see all my deals. And that's the best way to get in touch.
Awesome, awesome. Well, sounds good. Well, Michael, thank you so much for taking the time out of the busy day of all the deals going on, family that's growing, and sharing some wisdom with everyone that's maybe considering buying businesses, maybe instead of starting one, or growing through acquisition. A lot of good nuggets here. And so for everyone listening, again, we'll make sure in the show notes you can follow Michael on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and be able to learn more and reach out to him. So again, thank you so much, Michael. And for everyone
Thank you
listening,
so much for having me.
we'll see you in the next episode.